Good evening, excuse me, and welcome to the Somerville Redevelopment Authority meeting of October 7th, 2024. My name is Phil Ercolini. I'm Chair of the Somerville Redevelopment Authority, and I call this meeting to order at 5:33 p.m. Pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, this public meeting of the SRA is being conducted via remote participation. This session will be recorded and will be a public record. I will now ask the board members to confirm they were in attendance in alphabetical order. Awana Bonnie is joining us via audio. Ben, did you say? Is she with us?
I'm just promoting Ivana now, so if you want to just circle back to her at the end of the roll call.
All right, I'll do that. Ben Ewan Campen?
Here.
William Gage?
Here.
Patrick McCormick is not with us this evening. Christine Stone?
Here.
Myself, Phil Ercolini is here, and Awana Bonnie
I'm here.
She's here. Good
Working.
evening, Awana. Thank you for joining with us.
Yes.
So we do have a quorum, and I'll now ask the city staff to present a few of the house rules about using the
There we go.
technology. Ben?
Yep. Hi, everyone. Just give me 1 second. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Ben Demers. I am a senior planner in economic development with the city of Somerville, and I also serve as staff to the Somerville Redevelopment Authority, or the SRA. So a few notes for tonight's meeting. When an agenda item is being presented this evening, any presentation materials that staff have received ahead of time will be displayed on the screen. If city staff or other participants wish to direct the board's attention to a specific page, they should verbally note what page staff should show on the screen and should then verbally explain to the board what is being shown. Please also note that this meeting is being conducted remotely using Zoom webinar. In order to comply with open meeting law under state guidance, which does not allow for what is called side conversation, the chat function amongst attendees has been disabled. If you as an attendee have a question or would like to make a comment though on the matters discussed this evening, please use the raise hand function to indicate that you would like to speak. I will unmute participants one by one and give you 2 minutes to speak. When it's your turn, please clearly state your name and address before saying anything else. And then after 2 minutes, your microphone will be muted. Please remember that any questions asked by attendees this evening will also be a part of the open record. And then the last thing I'll note is just that I want to remind all board members that all votes must be roll call votes with a motion and a second. And I just want to note for SRA members, generally we are joined by the SRA's special counsel, Catherine Lester-Salkert, who was unable to be here this evening. So just want to make that note.
Thank you, Ben. So we'll get right to the agenda items this evening. And item number 1 is approval of the September 10th general meeting minutes. Have all members had an opportunity to review those minutes? And if so, any comments or questions? Bill, is your hand raised? No.
No, it wasn't. That was
Okay.
fake.
Okay, a fake hand. Okay. Seeing that, I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes as indicated.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Awana Bonnie makes a motion to approve. Is there a second? Bill Gage seconds, and we'll do a roll call vote. Awana Bonnie,
Yes.
Ben Ewan Campen,
Yes.
William Gage.
Yes.
Patrick McCormick is not with us this evening. Christine Stone
Yes.
and myself, Phil Ercolini, have approved the motion. Item number 2 is the public comment period, and we always entertain questions or comments from members of the public if they're in attendance, and I'll defer to Ben Demers for that to see if we have any members out there who want to speak to us.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have 2 members of the public with us this evening. If we want to just give a few seconds to see if anyone raises their hand. I believe one of them is actually a co-presenter this evening that Kara mentioned. So
one of them is what? I'm sorry, Ben.
sorry, I believe one of the 2 members of the public who's participating is actually one of the presenters here from
Okay, all right.
Square Station Associates. So
Okay.
I'm not seeing any hands go up, so I think we're good.
We're good to go. Okay. Item number 3 then is a recruitment update.
Through you, Mr. Chair, to the authority. So this is me. So I've just been providing members of the SRA with updates for the past couple of months as we've been going through the recruitment process for the 1 vacant SRA position. So the last time I gave an update, the Appointments Advisory Committee, which are the AAC, this is the committee that essentially makes recommendations to the mayor's office for appointments for any kind of high impact boards and commissions, including the Redevelopment Authority. They had made a recommendation to the mayor's office of 2 potential candidates, and then the mayor's office selected one of those candidates and made that recommendation to the city council. So just want to update that appointment then went from the city council to the confirmation of appointments and personnel matters committee, which is a committee of the city council. And that committee interviewed the candidate last Wednesday and ultimately voted affirmatively. So the next step is that affirmative vote will go back to the full city council. And then the city council will have to do a full vote to approve. That's going to be this coming Thursday. But happy to see the process kind of continuing along. From there, the next step, if the city council votes to approve the candidate, is that there'll be like a final paperwork step where the mayor's office needs to sign off. And then the clerk's office will need to swear in any new members. And so that could take probably a month, but ambitiously, I'm hoping that the new member is able to join us in November, again, predicated on that vote from the city council.
Okay. And Ben, at what point can you reveal the name of the?
Oh, I can reveal. So Courtney Brunson is the name of the candidate that was put forward. It's on, city council agendas, and the meeting of the committee is a public meeting.
And the name again is what?
Courtney Brunson. So I can share some of the materials that she had shared when she's joining, but also, again, don't want to talk too much on a process until the final city council vote happens. But when a new member is coming on, we'll make sure that they're introduced to the committee, to all of the plans that the authority works on, all those sorts of things.
Okay, good. All right. Thank you for that, Ben. Any questions from members on that?
No.
Okay, seeing none. Then next item on the agenda is Union Square revitalization plan. And well, let me see. I guess we'll take them in order. The A is a certificate of compliance process.
Yes. So let me start off. Just give me 1 second to share screen. I'm just going to share screen with the memo that I provided to. Actually, it's probably not the most helpful to look at a memo, but if people want any shared material in that way. But I just want to walk through. So I shared a memo with members of the authority ahead of time, just kind of explaining a bit of this request. So Union Square Station Associates, or US2, who is the selected master developer for the Union Square revitalization plan that the redevelopment authority oversees in Union Square. They are requesting what is called a certificate of compliance for the D2 parcel that is identified in that Union Square revitalization plan. So I'll talk a bit about that process. So the request was submitted on September 3rd, and that set off a 45-day timeline in which the SRA needs to vote whether to approve or deny that request. So that gives us the deadline of October 18th. And then if it's denied, it just sets off another timeline in which we'll need to provide reasoning for that denial. So the memo that I provides some background to the request, but just to keep it short. So the certificate of compliance process is laid out in this is a lot of acronyms this evening, and I acknowledge that. And so please, stop me to repeat anything, or members of the public who are tuning in, please raise your hand if you have any questions. The Master Land Disposition Agreement, or MLDA, this is the agreement that outlines the responsibilities of US2 and the SRA when it comes to the implementation of the Union Square revitalization plan. So this sets out a process for the certificate of compliance to be issued. It also lays out a process for US2 to submit phasing documentation for if they're going to do kind of sub phases of any of the disposition parcels. And so for D2, so this is the parcel at the southeast corner of Prospect Street and Somerville Ave. US2 first submitted a phasing document for this parcel in 2019. And so this had split up the parcel into 3 different phases. So this was D2.1, which is 10 Prospect Street. So this is the large black commercial building at the corner of Somerville Ave and Prospect Street, so right at the corner. And then D2.2, D2.3. This is 20 to 50 Prospect Street. So this refers to the 450 unit across the 2 buildings, residential buildings, with ground floor retail. And then it initially had included D2.4 as a 12,000 square foot commercial space on the southeast portion of the parcel. And actually it is probably helpful to look at a quick map of these things. Let me just pull up the map specifically. Can everyone see this?
Yes.
Okay, so this in the top left corner of this document is the intersection of Somerville Ave and Prospect Street. And so D2.1 as referenced, this is the area that is, this is the building that is on top of what is called Lot 4 in this plan. And then D2.2 and D2.3, which are technically two buildings, but are connected and often kind of referred to together, and they were included in one phase. This is what's shown on Lot 3, and then D2.4 was initially the last phase of this development. This is what's shown on Lot 20 in the southeast portion of the site. So just to kind of orient everyone to what we're talking about quickly. So then in 2020, US2 then modified this phasing plan. They submitted a modification to the SRA that was approved and signed. And the main points of this modification, and I'm just going to scroll up quickly to the memo itself. The main changes with this modification is that it removed D2.4. So it noted explicitly that it would no longer be developed as a 3-story commercial building. Instead, US2 would work with the city to modify the CDSP to add a neighborhood park in that vicinity. And because of this, D2.4 would explicitly no longer be a phase. So just want to kind of outline specifically the parcels we're talking about and are being requested this evening. And it also noted that for D2.4, when a certificate of compliance is issued for D2.1 and then D2.2, D2.3, that will also, the right of reverter for D2.4 will be given up. So just wanted to kind of give some of that context. In general, the criteria for, I'm just going to stop share. Okay. So in general, the certificate of compliance essentially says that the sites were developed kind of in compliance with the planning approvals that were received for these sites and the expectations that were laid out in the MLDA and in the Union Square Revitalization Plan. So the criteria that staff have been using to think about issuing these certificates, or kind of giving the SRA confidence in issuing these certificates, is just whether the project has followed its planning approvals, and so received its what's called a certificate of occupancy, or CO, which shows that it's complied with those planning board approvals and also with the development covenant between US2 and the city, and then also whether the SRA has had a chance to see the property. So for the first of those, the projects have completed largely all of their requirements for the CO. There's one administrative piece that we're waiting on, but this is on the city's end, not on US2's end. And then for the second, SRA members obviously toured the site on September 17th or previous to that date. So given these criteria that we have been thinking about and given your own review, so staff don't have concerns with the SRA members voting to issue this certificate, but I want to obviously open up the space to talk more about the tour, and so debrief the tour a bit. And then I can also, after we debrief the tour a bit, I can pass things over to Kara and to Patrick to also maybe give a little bit. Maybe actually it makes sense to do that first, Kara, and then we can kind of shift in to debriefing the tour.
Sure, that sounds great. So you got, basically, do you just want to add, if you have any open questions, we can answer those at this time. That's what you're referring to, right, Ben?
Yeah, just
Okay.
wanted to make sure.
Sure.
That was, I know what we had discussed ahead. I just wanted to
Yes.
make sure. Okay, so in that case, so as I mentioned, we SRA members have all toured the site at this point, and so both want to make this a space where we can ask any questions that were not asked on that tour, because explicitly we didn't deliberate or ask questions in that space. But then also if there are just any general updates about the project, about the different updates we've received from US2 over the last several months.
Okay.
Thank you, Ben. So I will ask members if they have any questions relative to that, Bill.
Yes, at the last meeting, D 2.4, US2 has plans to make the space usable, for the public. And I'm wondering, does US2 have specific plans? And what are those plans? I mean, are they going to put grass down in the area and plant a couple of trees to make it usable for the public? I mean, basically, can you share with us what those plans are?
Sure. We're going to do a few things, and we've actually been working on that over the past 2 months. So we're going to first clean up our property line with our adjacent property owner to the north. And we've already received approval from that property owner to basically just kind of clear and grub that property line, replace the fence with a 6-foot high black chain link pretty simple, but kind of disappears with some landscaping. On our side of the property, we're going to be putting in a dog park area that services basically from Milk Alley to Allen Street, so a wide swath across. So it's accessible from both sides, both Allen and Milk Alley. And then it's going to be separated with a smaller fence just to keep animals on one side, people on the other. And then the other side, so the dog park will be a crushed, decomposed granite finish with dog bags and garbage on both ends. And then the planted side, which will be on the right side and will be a majority of the park area or of that land area, will be grass, a pollinator garden, some trees, bushes, and some benches for people to sit on.
Okay. And what's the time frame for it?
So we're pushing to do it still here in Q4. We're kind of waiting for some approvals from the ownership group on some budgets, but it's either Q4 or essentially as soon as we can, maybe late Q1, early Q2 of 2025. Our goal is still Q4 of this year.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Bill. Ben, you had your hand raised.
Yeah, thank you. That's a helpful update. My question is also about D 2.4, which I recognize is not strictly part of this, so bear with me. But I think most of us remember, right, the original plan was that this parcel was going to be kind of conglomerated with the adjoining properties, and it was at one point maybe going to be affordable housing, healthcare facility, etc. It's my understanding is that's kind of fallen apart largely, you know, as it's been explained to me, is like one of the property owners there won't participate. This, just speaking as a city councilor, is kind of the reason that eminent domain exists in my mind. And I guess I'm more speaking to staff here. This is very clearly an abandoned, blighted property that has the great potential to serve as an incredible community resource. And I'm wondering, have we taken any steps in that direction, where we are in that process? You know, I don't know if US2 plays a direct role in that, but I'd love to hear an update on kind of where we are in that.
From our perspective, we were intending to move forward with I call it a temporary park in the interim, and then build it into a more of a community-based park. I'll just say with some more community input in the future, with one of our next vertical buildings. That was, as far as I understand, the intention. Moving forward, not acquiring any more land on that particular. We would not be, I'll say, increasing the land there at D 2.4.
Is there anything that city staff can share with us on conversations that have happened with that?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair, to Councilor Ewan Kempen. I'll be honest, I specifically am not sure. I haven't been privy to the conversations that have been had with adjacent property owners there. This is something I can come back and ask of. I know kind of leadership in OSPCD have been a part of those conversations in the past, and I'm not sure where. I know initially there had been some point of a discussion, of the site that you were essentially describing with the parcel directly north of D 2.4. And I'm not sure what exactly happened to end those conversations, and if it was just hitting a wall with the property owner, but you know, that could also, if there's an interest from authority members to, you know, revisit, either use eminent domain through the city, and that's obviously a different conversation speaking as a councilor, but we could also have conversations about amendments to the Union Square revitalization plan, so to the urban renewal plan in this area to encapsulate that area. I'm not sure the justification also that went into that initial line, but I think that's definitely something I can ask about and get clarity on for the next meeting.
Okay, great. Yeah, I would appreciate a conversation on amongst my colleagues on this. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ben, both Bens. Any other questions of Kara on this piece? Okay. So we'll move on to the next item then, is a decision to issue or deny the certificate of compliance for 10 Prospect Street.
Yeah, so this is really just, again, so the request has been issued from US2's end, and so just kind of looking for a vote from authority members on whether or not they would approve or deny the request for the certificate of compliance. If ultimately SRA members vote to deny, then we would just have a following conversation about kind of the justification for that staff could provide more formally.
Okay, members, for those who did or did not have an opportunity to go down to the site, were there any questions of Kara at this point, relative to the D2, 1 and 2 and 3?
No.
Okay, any issues?
Right.
Okay, well then, at that, then I would entertain a motion on approving the certificate of compliance for 1050-50 Prospect Street.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I just want to make sure, Member Stone, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I
Oh,
I was
okay.
just going to ask, is this vote solely on the two existing built or the buildings that have been built and those parcels, or is it also on the D 2.4?
Yeah, so the modification that was made to the phasing plan in 2020, this explicitly laid out that when the certificate of compliance for D2.1 and D2.2, D2.3 was issued, that would also give up the right of reverter, the SRA's right of reverter for D2.4. So in voting to, and I have some draft language that I'm playing with, so I can pull it up on the screen if we're at the point of voting after we are through questions. But if the SRA does vote to issue those certificates, then it also is voting to give up the right of reverter. So there's in the draft documentation that's attached in the memo, it has the like at the very end, it has some of the draft documentation, and it's 3 documents essentially. One for D2.1, which is a certificate of compliance and a release of the right of reverter. For D2.2, D2.3, it's a certificate of compliance and a release of the right of reverter. And then it's for D2.4, just a release of the right of reverter, because there's no specific certificate that gets issued for that parcel.
Okay.
Because it's not being built on?
Because it was essentially removed as a formal phase from the D2 phasing plan.
Okay.
And I guess while I don't really have concerns about the buildings, and I don't doubt that US2 will go through with their plans to build a park. There's nothing that would say they won't. I guess I'm thinking about, Ben, you and Campen's statements just a moment ago about the potential for some civic building, and if we don't have a right of reverter, and let's say US2, like something happens and they don't go through and build the park, and it remains as is, what rights does the SRA have over that site? And that, I think, at least for me, again, I'm not suggesting US2 won't complete a park, but then we lose our rights. So what happens on the slim chance they don't? We now lose our right of reversion, and we have I guess just a lot that is not functional because it's not a park, and we can't get to it, or we can't take it back, if you will, because we gave up our right.
So I don't know, maybe Catherine would have been inappropriate. I mean, could we excise that D4 from this process on compliance without impacting the rest of it?
First off, I'm gonna send a message to Kathy and see if there's any way that she can jump on. But putting on my Kathy hat for a second, I would say because of the approved modification to the phasing plan and the explicit language in that modification that says that once a certificate is issued for D2.1, D2.2, D2.3, that the right of reverter is given up for D2.4. I do not know of another recourse that we would have. I have similarly had that question of like what the conversation was at that time. It's also before I was here on staff. So I don't know why that was specifically included or what the thinking was at that time around the future of D2.4. As you have said, we work closely with the US2 team. I think we have confidence that would still be incorporated into the plans, and that site is still in the overall planning approvals for this area. But the intention that's been articulated by US2 is to return to the planning board at some point to amend their planning approvals for the overall area. to include the neighborhood park. And so that has not happened yet. And so we are giving up the right of reverter at a time where the more specific plan for this parcel, the future plan, has not been encapsulated in a change to those overall planning approvals.
Right.
Any thoughts, members?
Yeah.
In delaying the decision to issue the compliance this evening, what impact does that have?
So from my understanding, because the deadline is next Friday, October 18th, the SRA would need to formally deny unless there was an attempt at essentially setting up a special session for sometime next week to discuss this explicitly where Kathy could join. But they would have to deny the certificate, and then I don't know any specific implications that would have for requesting the certificate. Like while waiting to get more clarity, it is possible that they could simply resubmit a request immediately after, though that would obviously push back the process. And I know that we didn't get deep into this, Kara, but I know, there's a push on US2's end to refinance these projects with the which not having the certificate and having the right of reverter remain it makes it more difficult for them. But I very much,
I'm sorry.
I just want to acknowledge quickly, like, I understand not having Kathy here. It makes it hard to feel confidence in this decision right now. So I don't want to not acknowledge that.
Ben?
Mr. Chair, I'm obviously not a lawyer. My feeling on this is that despite my slight concern, I guess I would say, to be giving up, what we might call leverage, I think the SRA is going to be interacting with US2 many times in the future. And if I'll just speak as one member, if we were to feel that they were not making good on these, the statements that they're making tonight, which I have no reason to think that they wouldn't, I think that conversation could become relevant at a future, time when we are asked to do something. But yeah, I can't really honestly say that I think they're out of compliance. The SRA voted to remove this parcel from the phasing. I think I am frustrated, not honestly so much with US2, but kind of with the situation there that more progress hasn't been made on D2.4. I'm glad to hear, tonight, that was news to me to hear that a dog park and a little planting is coming. I think that's a good temporary use of the site. And, I, for one, it's not going to hold up my vote.
Okay, good.
Is that the feeling of the rest of the members at this point, that we should go forward on this?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just gonna shoot here. So is there a motion on the floor to approve the certificate of compliance for 10-50 Prospect Street? Ben, Campin makes a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second,
Awana Boni seconds. We'll do a roll call vote. Awana Boni,
yes.
Ben Campin,
Yes.
William Gage,
Yes,
Patrick McCormick is not with us this evening. Christine Stone,
Abstain.
abstains, and Phil Ercolini votes to approve. So the motion carries and that is approved.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I just want to make sure that we're taking a second with the language that we are voting on specifically.
Okay.
So I'm just going to share my screen quickly and show some language that I drafted that I think essentially reflects what you just said. I just want to make sure I'm capturing everything.
Okay.
I apologize that I should have just.
No apologies necessary.
All right. Can you see this?
It looks fine to me.
I might
through
just,
you, Mr.
I
Chair,
might
can I-
just,
Go
oh,
ahead.
I was
No,
just
sorry,
going
go
to say, oh, go ahead, Ben.
No.
Well, I was just going to say you might want to reference the section of the master land agreement in here. So pursuant to section blah blah blah, you know, if that, whatever that section was, 2H or something. And that way, anybody, whoever looks at this can understand why this vote was taken and ties it back to the original agreement.
Right. I think are we all set, Ben, with the addition?
Was that a question to me or to Councilman?
Yes, yes. Are we all set with the language?
Yep.
Because then I will entertain a motion. I'm gonna read it specifically for the record. So is there a motion pursuant to section 2.G-H of the Master Land Disposition Agreement between the SRA and Union Square Associates, US2? The SRA hereby votes to affirmatively issue a certificate of compliance to US2 for the D2.1 and D2.2 D2.3 parcels of the Union Square Station Revitalization Plan, and to affirmatively release the right of reverter for these parcels along with the D2.4 parcel. Given that language, is there a motion to approve?
Sorry, I apologize to be editing this live. It just, yeah.
Ben Ewan Kim makes a motion to approve. Is there a second? Alana Bonnie seconds, and we'll do a roll call vote. Alana Bonnie,
Yes.
Ben Ewan Campen,
Yes.
William Gage,
Yes.
Patrick McCormick is not with us this evening. Christine Stone
Abstain.
and Phil Ercolini have voted to approve. So we have 4 members voting to approve and 1 abstaining. So it carries the motion. Anything else on this matter? I don't think so. If not, then the next item on the agenda is 90 Washington Street, the DPW memorandum of understanding extension request.
Thank you.
I'm gonna drop off. Thank you very much. Appreciate
Thank you,
it.
Karen, for your.
Thank you. All right.
comment.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Have a
you.
good night.
You too.
Right.
So again, the next item is 90 Washington Street, which is the memorandum of understanding with the DPW on the extension request.
Yep, through you, Mr. Chair, to the authority. Eric, I'm just gonna give a little quick context. So as I believe all present members were present for this initial request, in 2022, the city made a request to put into place a memorandum of understanding between the SRA and the city for use, for temporary use of 90 Washington Street, which the Redevelopment Authority owns. And this was for several different uses. So this was for potential temporary civic space creation, as well as for vital municipal storage and operation functions, including snow storage by the Department of Public Works, along with storage of other equipment. So that initial agreement had been in place for a year. And then in October of 2023, the SRA voted to extend that memorandum of understanding for an additional year. And that will expire on November 16th of this year. So DPW is here to make an additional request for the extension of that MOU for another year. So I'm going to hand things over to Eric Weissman, who's the Director of Operations for the city's Department of Public Works, to give a little more context.
All right, thank you, Ben. And Eric, before you start, I just wanted to just throw this out there. Maybe you can address it during your brief on us, is that I think it was the understanding of the members the last couple of years that the city was going to look into other potential sites. And so you can address that if you would.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I will address that in this. So thank you for having me. Thank you, Ben, for the introduction. So since the last meeting, we've added one additional site. That's the Homans lot, or part of the Homans lot. And that adds quite a bit of additional storage capacity. We also have a tentative agreement in place for another local storage spot. We had the agreement in place last year, but we didn't end up using it. So we're going through the process of finalizing an additional memorandum of agreement with that entity, non-city entity. And you know, as I mentioned last time we spoke, that we are looking at, we're always looking at off-site storage outside the city. That presents a lot of challenges, but you know, we're going to continue to try to find additional snow farm storage off-site. And as part of the capital improvement process, we have requested a snow melter. Again, we're going to keep asking for that until we get one. But we're also looking at renting snow melters. So I think all of these things should lessen the impact on 90 Washington during the winter, but we are continuing to use it for other operational space.
Eric, thank you. I have one question is, in the section they're committing to being good neighbors, the second bullet point says continue to maintain and improve 90 Washington. What efforts are you making to improve 90 Washington, and what are they?
So this happened sort of earlier in the process. We did some landscaping work there, removed some trees. We just replaced the gate on the fence, which had been damaged, and rehung some of the scrim. So, you know, we've been over there a few times to try to see what needs to be done. And then I think if there are programming needs there, we would be working with OSPCD on supporting those efforts.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Eric. Any questions of Eric from members? Bill Gage? Hi, Bill.
Yes. Is there any way that the Department of Public Works can make the site more presentable? And really be a good neighbor, because obviously there's been a lot of problems with maintenance as far as grass. The site looks very trashy. I mean, I wouldn't want to live across the street from it, and I don't think you would. So my question is, you know, who's going to stay on top of this so we don't have to complain about the fact that it's not being maintained?
Yeah, that's a fair question. I'm going to be honest that it just fell off of the table a bit on our part, and I apologize for that. As soon as we heard a complaint about it, we went out there. The truth is we hadn't been down there as much as like recently as we were earlier in the process when we were doing a lot of work on the site. So it's back on our radar. We are continuing to look at it, and we will continue to look at it. And I did put my email address on there. If you ever have a concern about the site, please reach out to me. You know, anytime there's an issue, you can reach out directly to me, and I will make sure it's addressed. But it is now going to be part of the rotation again.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, and I apologize that yeah, I saw the pictures. It was not good. So as soon as we learned that, we sent people down there, and somebody has followed up and will continue to follow up.
All right. Thank you.
And
Yep.
thanks, Bill, for keeping an eye on that.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Site. Anyway, any other questions of Eric at this point?
So, I
Christine?
did through you, Mr. Chair. So Eric, I understand that you're seeking, I guess, an extension of the snow farm use. With respect to storage, does the memo accurately reflect what you are thinking about storing there? Or
Yeah,
art
yeah.
farm
Through the
material?
chair, yes, I mean the sort of numbers have shifted a bit over time. I think there are fewer vehicles because we surplused a number of vehicles there. But as we've made transitions with the decorative barrels to Big Bellies. We've started to collect a lot of decorative barrels there. Those are also going to be surplus, but we're trying to figure out what's the best way to surplus those. So I don't remember exactly how it was outlined in the use agreement for what DPW was going to store there. I think the nature of things have stayed the same, although the exact numbers may have changed.
Okay, thank you.
And then, yeah, it mentions Art Farm and IAM, and those departments are still using it. There is still a cooler there used for the like the food security program, and we were working with them, and IAM has also used the space occasionally.
All right, Eric, any other questions of members of Eric at this point?
One more. Would you
Mhm.
say that the DPW tries to work with its constituent taxpayers in the city of Somerville? Or does the DPW go about their business without taxpayers and citizens in mind?
I think everything we do has the constituents in mind.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you for that, Christine. Any other questions or comments at this point? If not, I'll entertain a motion that we approve the DPW memorandum of understanding requesting an extension. Is there a motion?
I'll motion.
Christine makes a motion to approve. Is there a second? Is there a second on that? Bill Gage, second. So the roll call vote, Awana Bonnie. Ben Ewan Campen.
Yes,
Okay, thank you, Awana. William Gage.
Yes,
And Patrick McCormick is not with us this evening. Christine Stone
Yes.
and myself, Phil Erglini, have voted to approve the extension request. The next item on the agenda is any items that the chair has not anticipated. Okay, other than the next scheduled meeting is Tuesday, November 12th. Then I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Is there a motion to adjourn? Bill Gage makes a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? Christine Stone seconds. Awana Bonnie? Ben Ewan Campen?
yes.
William Gage?
Yes.
yes.
Christine Stone?
Yes.
And myself, Phil Erglini, have voted to adjourn. So we'll see each other next November, hopefully, with a successful election outcome, and I won't even go any further than that. Ben Demers, have a great vacation. Ben is going to Europe, you lucky dog.
Enjoy.
Enjoy, man.
You're
Enjoy.
escaping all the fun.
Yeah, thank you for your help.
All right, have a good time.
Have a good night.
Bye.
See you, everybody.